Hi and welcome. My name is Sarah Waylett, and I am the creator and founder of Dreamgarten, which is a new way of working to manage and recover from burnout. And this is our very first podcast recording and LinkedIn Live event. And today I'm so honored to have Lily Shepard as my guest to tell us her story about burnout and her experiences with that. So I would love, Lily, if you would just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what you offer right now, and then we're going to dive into our 10 questions.
All right. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Lily Shepard. I am an embodiment coach and pleasure advocate. I help high achieving women connect to their bodies through movement and empower them to get back to that inner knowing that we all have, that embodied wisdom. So right now, what am I offering? I love that question. What are you offering? Well, right now I have an online 4-part video series that is like self-paced movement course. It's called The Sacred Power of Movement. I also do one-on-one coaching, so that is available as well. Schedule a consultation for that. And I'm very excited because I will be facilitating a retreat locally here in Austin called Diosa de Luz in November. So I'm very excited about that also.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Lily. We're going to dive into the questions now. So, tell me, what three adjectives would you use to describe yourself?
Lively, powerful, and determined
I love it.
slash
Tell me
stubborn,
more.
depending on who you're talking to. I prefer determined.
Yes. Tell me more about those adjectives.
Well, I just don't stop. I'm not easily dissuaded. And so I have grown to love that about myself. I think when I was younger, um, I felt bad about it because I was like almost dogged in nature, which was kind of weird for a young person. But now that I'm older, I definitely see the value in like staying the course and it can be negative sometimes, right? Sometimes you got to know when to walk away, and so I've learned that as well. But powerful, I mean, yes, that just is right. That we all just are. That is just the truth of the matter. And lively, I really enjoy life. I really enjoy life. I enjoy having a lot of energy to give to life. And so, yeah.
Thank you. How would you describe your life in three sentences, given that you love life so much?
Let's see. Well, currently, how would I describe my life? Peaceful, full of joy, and uncomfortable. And yes, I know there's got to be a follow up. Like, how do all three of those coexist?
Right, tell me more.
Well, the peacefulness is the foundation, right? So, like, I feel like underneath it all, there is an undercurrent of peace that allows me to get to that next kind of part where the joy is and the enjoyment. And then on the surface is the discomfort of things are changing, things are moving. I have things that I seeds that have been planted that are going to start to bloom but not yet blooming, and I have a daughter who is an adolescent, and she is blooming and changing, and so there's just a lot of movement right now, and I'm someone that's comfortable in the steady predictable, and so for me it's just slightly uncomfortable right now.
I think that sounds lovely because it's all on that foundation of peace.
Mm-hmm. That's the only way I'm not going crazy.
Oh, that's right. But it wasn't always this way, right? The next question is really, so tell me a little more about the nature of your burnout experience and what that was like for you. Give us some background and tell us that story.
So my burnout experience, well, I didn't even really label it as burnout at the time because it took place the industry that I was in. I spent many years as an exotic dancer, and that was my job at the time. And I thought burnout was something that only happened if you like carry a briefcase and or you have to clock in somewhere or something. So I was like, well, I'm just tired. Like how could I be burnt out? I'm choosing my schedule. Um, I have flexibility. This isn't burnout. I'm just tired. And what happened was I found myself in a place kind of all at one time. Things started changing for me. I went through an issue with, my marriage was crumbling. And I say it kind of crumbled all in one swoop. This wasn't like a long ongoing process, but at the time of the crumble, I was working and I was just noticing how disconnected from my body that I was because that was my job at the time was to use my body and move my body and give off a certain air of sexuality, sensuality, and that was the job. And I was like performing that, but I couldn't believe how I was able to perform that, but my body, I felt so disconnected. It wasn't making sense to me. How could I be up here and stand up here and move in this way and give off this beauty and opulence and sexuality and openness and friendliness and I felt none of that in my own being. Um and so that just caused me to question everything and I was like, "You know what? You're not sleeping." When I started going down the checklist, you don't sleep well. You're not really taking care of yourself nutritionally. You're up in here odd hours, of the night. You still have a child that you need to get to school in the morning. You still have the household to be running. You're still a wife at this point. So, and you're not really, all of these things are failing. Like you're not taking care of yourself. That's how you can be up here doing this and feel so disjointed.
So did you take time off when you realized all of this was happening? How did you sort of start your healing journey when you realized that all of this was happening for you?
Well, it's interesting. And I had to take time off because I also in that time decided I was getting a divorce and I was ready to be a single parent. And so I was forced to kind of take time off to just gather my mind about what I was going to do moving forward because a lot became clear at that moment. It was like, one, I no longer want to be doing what I'm doing. I no longer want to be living where I'm living. I need to figure out what way I can replace this income with something else that makes me feel good and lively and brings me joy and pleasure. So there were a lot of decisions to be made as a result of that first brush with like, oh shit, I'm burnt out. This feels horrible. And I'm getting a divorce. So, it was just a lot to reconcile at one time. But so yes, I absolutely did take time off. I had to.
And then what measures, you told me a story when we first met, but I'm going to ask the question because it's part of our format. What measures did you take to start to heal? How did you know that you were starting to heal, and what did you do for yourself?
Hmm. I started moving my body for me only. So like I was telling you, I had this epiphany of, wow, I've been dancing, I've studied dance my whole life, have a degree in dance, I've traveled, I've done all these things, but I had no idea of how to use movement as a tool for self healing, as a tool for just my own enjoyment, as a tool to work through emotion. It was always a performance for me. And so I heard this voice. I was in my room and I felt at my wit's end. I had tried all of these things and saying affirmations in the mirror and support groups and reading books and watching TED Talks and all of these things. And I heard this voice say, just move. And I did everything. I looked like a crazy person. I was just in my room, rolling on the ground, sitting, rocking and crying, twerking, doing emotive dance. I mean, I just for like an hour straight, I worked up a sweat. I cried. There was just so much release that came from that. And I was like, okay, all right, this is what I need. I need more of this.
That movement was medicine, right?
Hmm.
As we
Absolutely.
say. Yeah. So tell me what happened next. You started to move, you got healthy, you made some decisions about your life, right? What happened next? The question is, how was your return to work? But what did that really look like for you, Lily?
Well,
What did that look like?
I prioritized pleasure in my life. I had a real big paradigm shift because up until that point, that movement felt so good, but I almost felt guilty for being in my room, locked away by myself, taking this time, you know, uninterrupted to move. After it, I felt guilty, because my daughter had knocked on a door. Come and poke your head in. It's fine. I'm going. But I was embarrassed for her to see me like that. And so I started thinking, but you felt so good. Why are you waiting? Because in my mind, I had so many things that, okay, when I've successfully changed my career, when this divorce is all complete, when I'm out of this house, when I've moved my location, then I'll start doing these things that make me feel good. And then I can feel good and then I'll be great. And I realized that I had it backwards. Like that, that hour in my room made me feel great and I had more capacity to deal with the court dates and the paperwork and the going to work and all of the things that felt so burdensome to me. And so I said, well, what if I just start doing little small things? Take a walk, move, go find a class, go to a dance class, and there was so much guilt that I had to move past. Who am I to be taking time to do those things? I got to pay lawyers. I have need someone to watch my daughter. I have a house to maintain. I got to get to work. I need to sleep so I can get to work. I got to get to the gym because if I don't get to the gym, I won't look good enough to work. I mean, it was insane. But once I started integrating that into my life and making it a foundational part rather than somewhere I was going to get to once I did all of the things, I was able to like see the finish line and make a very clear plan of, okay, I would like to leave Las Vegas by this time. This is what I need in order to do that. And I started to just put the pieces together and it all flowed more easily than I expected.
I love that. So, do you have an ongoing strategy to prevent this from happening again? I mean, I know the answer already, but I have to ask the question. So, tell us what you do now and how you help yourself, right? So that you don't go back to that place.
Mm. Well, I stay hydrated. that that seems like such a basic answer, but honestly, being like sufficiently hydrated dramatically improved my quality of life. I mean, this whole story that I'm telling you, this all took place in Las Vegas. I was living in Las Vegas at the time. So, you want to talk about dry and dehydrated? That was me, right? So, hydration number one, Number two, I roll out my mat and I go through movement every single morning. Every single morning, 15 minutes. Sometimes, if I don't have 15 minutes, the length of a song, I'll be outside in a hotel room, wherever I am. It's non negotiable now. And if that doesn't happen, I go for a walk. Like there has to be something before the day hits me in the face, that I can, you know, that helps me create that undercurrent of peacefulness. And so dedicating that time to myself is is such a preventative measure. It doesn't really take much, but I feel like it's such a great return because it really sets the foundation for my day, and it sets the foundation like, hey, I'm important. I need this time first. Every other thing is going to happen regardless, but it just continues to reinforce my commitment to myself. And that's been very important. And my daughter sees it, and I see her starting to develop her own morning ritual and how she does things and how she prepares for the day. And I love that.
Gosh, that's so beautiful. And that you're setting such an amazing example for your daughter, right? To put herself first too, first thing in the day. I love that. Do you think that burnout is something that happens to us, or do you think that it's something that we do to ourselves?
I think it's something we do to ourselves because I'm always of the mind of we always have a choice, you know, um, and there's a lot of layers of excuses sometimes that need, but I can't do this, but this is the job, but this is the hours, but this is what, and this is just the commitment, and this is what I signed up, but somewhere in there, I can guarantee you that a choice was made, right? And so I feel like it's definitely something that we do because we have a choice to preemptively make sure that that's not, do the best we can to make sure that burnout doesn't happen, but it has to be like proactive. And that's the thing about burnout, right? Is that you don't put things in place until once you recognize that you're already burnt out. And so I feel like, I love the work that you're doing because it's like, let's figure this out before, right? So we don't have to go through that, like hitting that brick wall. We can kind of have a foundation in place so that we don't have to experience that.
I love that so much. What is your best burnout resource that you would hand to anyone that is in need right now? What is the thing that you would say, the first thing that you would say, my best advice for you helping yourself is this?
I would hand them a yoga mat and say, get down there. Um, I don't care if you sit still and close your eyes and do this and breathe, or if you want to roll around, or if you want to twerk down there, or if you want to crawl around, just get down there and be with your body and see what comes up from that. Because I feel like we're told so many things to do, right? If you want to not have this, go do that. And sometimes that's a bigger issue because we already have so many things to do. It's like, wait, now I got to go find this book to read, or now I got to go listen to this talk by so and so, or now it just creates another thing when really we have so much resource inside. It's just a matter of making the space and being available to listen to it.
Awesome. And what is your song for the Dreamgarten Burnout playlist that I am putting together as part of the podcast? Because, I love to dance and so do you. So, what is the song that you would recommend for me to put on that playlist?
I can't wait for this playlist. Let me just say, like, I'm very excited. So my song for the playlist would be "I Invite Ease and Joy" It's by an artist. Her name is Geminelle, and it's interesting. I found the song somehow on Spotify, and I thought this is beautiful. And then it just so happened, maybe a month or 5 months, I don't know. She was here in Austin, and I got to hear her actually perform and sing this song. And it was just like, wow, it felt full circle. But it's a great song. It's almost like a mantra, and her voice is just so beautiful. And I really enjoy it. I listen to it often, and I usually play it for my clients and sessions with them also.
I love that. I'm going to make sure that the link to the playlist is in all the information when we share this because Lily's advice to get on a mat, there's your first song, right? Get on a mat, put this song on and move and see what comes up. Willie, this is so wonderful. I'm sure everyone can tell why you were the absolute perfect person for me to invite to have our first Dream Garden Path podcast. I so enjoyed listening to your story today. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful to have connected with you, and just it's good stuff. It's good stuff we got going on here. I'm very grateful to be here.
Thank you.